Hi friends, my name is Rian, your tech master at Azure DevOps Pulse. Be welcome to our YouTube channel. In our last session, we have learned about Docker and also we have understood some of the key components such as containers, Docker engine, Docker file, Docker image, Docker container, Docker compose, Docker volumes, Docker network, Docker registry, and Docker hub, etc. So what we are going to do is that in today's session, we are going to be learning how we can install Docker and run Docker commands. So whenever you want to run any Docker commands before installing Docker, you will not be able to run any Docker commands. That is why in today's video, we will see how we can install Docker on variety of operating systems such as Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. And it is very pretty simple and straightforward, my dear friend. Okay, so if you need, you can directly refer these documents or you can directly type in the Google. So let's get started. So maybe if you directly come here, I mean not down, it's Docker, okay, Docker install. If you directly come here, you get a second link, get Docker. Same thing, that is what I was also mentioning here, get Docker, okay. This will take you there, okay. You can go there and now based on your operating system you choose. In my case, I have already installed Docker on my Windows as well as Linux. So I will still show you how we can do, but I'll just guide you. Okay, so let's get started. So like I mentioned, for Windows first we will see here. So let me click in the first one. So yeah, I am taken here now. Now the first thing is the system requirement. So you can just check whether it is okay for your like your configuration, your system configurations. Okay, and also you need to enable the second point is that you also need to enable this one. That is your WSL, nothing but it's a Windows subsystem for Linux. So how can I do that one? So once you're good with this part, what you do, go to your control panel basically in your appwish.cpl, go there, it will take you to the Windows features, go inside and then find that one, that is your Windows subsystem for Linux. Click this one. Once you click this one, you click, say okay, and you will be asked for reboot. Then just reboot the system. Once you reboot, then what you do is your work is done. Then come down. Then you get an option here, install Docker desktop on Windows. Click in the first link that if you see here, download the installer. Now in our case, you have to download the installer. Click there. So once you now this is the one, right? Download Docker desktop. So this is what you will be installing. So click in the link. Okay, once you click here, it will be installed. Okay, so in my case, I have already done it. So I'll just show you how it will be. I have this is the one basically docker desktop installer dot exec. Okay, double click in this one, then just next you do. Very simple command. I mean, very simple installation. Okay, just put next, and once it is successfully done, you close it. Okay, I mean, sorry, here. Okay, what you do? See here, they have mentioned the full step. You have downloaded the Docker, the desktop file, right? Then you will run that one, and then you will be okay using this one instead of this one. Once you are done with this one, if you are having a different like login credentials in your case, you can have separate login credential as well. I mean, you can have a separate user as well. Okay, so once you're done with the installation, this is very simple, like I mentioned. You directly uh, s- go here. What you do in your Windows, just type here Docker desktop or just Docker. You type, it will come automatically. Okay, once if you see here. Then what you do once you're done with this one, now you can log in with your Docker Hub. In my case, I have already logged in. I have already signed in with my Docker Hub. In your case, if you don't have a Docker Hub, what you do, my dear friends, you just go Docker, Docker Hub. Why I require? Because I will be pushing all my images, Docker images to my uh, Docker Hub. Or if you want to pull something also, I require, right? That is why I need this one. So I will click on the first link. Once I click, if you don't have the Docker login credentials, let's say if you're new to the Docker Hub, what you do? There is the option sign up. Click in the sign up button, just log in, or you can y- log in with your email ID, password. Okay, you can give all details, or you can log in with your what do you call the Google credential as well. Okay, so in my case, I have already. What I'll do, I don't have to create it. So I'll go back. I will directly click on the sign in. Now it took me directly because I have already my login credential. Okay, so this is the repository which I'm having currently, which was pushed from my local to my remote. That is your GitHub. Sorry, Docker Hub. Okay. All right. So you have to log in first. Once you basically launch your Docker desktop, right? You will be login. Basically, you have to sign in with your Docker Hub, whatever ID you have. In my case, I have done it. So what you do, second thing is that if you want to check, if you still want to confirm, you simply go to CMD and then you can type here like Docker test version. So that will show which version is installed. Okay. So you have now you are clear how to install the Docker. I mean Docker on Windows. Okay. So you are good. It is very simple and straightforward. So fine. Now we will try to see for the Linux. In my case, I have already installed on my Red Hat. Okay, so I have done in my Red Hat, and if you want to do in the Ubuntu, you can do you can run these commands. So better what you can do is that instead of referring these documents, what you do basically, I recommend you to refer the official documents. So let me show you once. So if you had to install for Windows, sorry for Linux, come down first. You type like I mentioned again. Go back, Docker install right. Go here. Second link, that is same thing which I mentioned. Now you choose in your case for Linux means just choose Linux. Once you selected Linux, then now you have a different platform like this thing distributed. Okay, you will have a different distribution such as Ubuntu, Debian, and Fedora. So in my case, I have installed in Red Hat. Normally, they don't recommend to use Red Hat for some reason. Okay, so but you can use such specially for the Ubuntu will be the best one. Okay, so in your case, you can install Ubuntu. Then prerequisites, you can see the whatever prerequisites require. Okay, and you can run this all the commands. Okay, they have given step by step all commands. Okay, all commands are given, so you can run this one. So in case if you want to follow maybe simple, you can. I have some important notes. I can run this command as well. But in our case, in my case, what I did was I have installed in the Red Hat. The reason was that I wanted to have Linux, I mean, on Red Hat because I was having Ansible server as well. So just to save the cost, so I was using same operating system for my. So if I see here, this is my, I have installed VMware. On top of VMware, I have installed Red Hat 8.4 something. Okay, so I have installed it on top of there. Then I have installed Ansible and then Docker. Okay, so uh, let me log into my this server, that is my Ansible server which I have installed Docker, right? So using putty, this is the Ansible server, right? This is the one basically. So I'll just log in with my, normally will not be login with root ID, but in my case I wanted to log in with root ID, so it's okay. But in your case, you will not be able to log in with root ID in your any of the project. They don't give access, complete access. So just for your information. So okay. So I have login as a root ID now. I mean root now. So what I'll do first, I have, like I mentioned, this is very simple commands for if you want to, like I mentioned, I have already shown for the Ubuntu. So it's very simple and straightforward. Just refer the documents. Okay. or if you need this one also, I will anyway share to you. Okay, and this is for the red hat. If you're going with the red hat, you can just install these commands, very small. Okay, so what you do here, in my case, if you're going with this thing, like I mentioned, I have already installed it, so I can directly check the version. How can I check the version in the Ubuntu, sorry, red hat? I can just maybe increase the size of it, uh, change appearance, then we will have to click in the change settings, then size, based on you can increase the size. Okay, so that will be easy for me to understand, I mean read it. Now I can see this, the version is installed. Okay, this is located in my um red hat. Actually we can check cat cc os release. Okay, so you can check this is actually the red hat enterprise. Okay, all right, so we have understood now how we can install. So now what we will so in today's demo, basically what I'll do is we will try to run these commands in Linux base itself. So in your case, you can install Ubuntu, or if you want to install Red Hat, you can use Red Hat as well. Okay. But Red Hat is again is a paid version, or you can get a trial version as well. You can trial in the sense you can go the developer plan. Okay, you get a 6 months plan, something that you can check the documents, Red Hat documents. Okay. So fine there. So what we will do now, we have understood now. We will try to run some commands. So let's see, I will run these commands. Okay, all right. Before that, let me give a small listing. So we are good with the installation. Okay. Then now what we will understand. First thing, we will try to understand the difference between Docker image and Docker container. This was already discussed initially as well, but in today's video, it is important for us to understand everything as a beginner, right? So we will have to be very much clear with our topic, right? So let's understand the first, that is your Docker image. Like I mentioned, Docker image basically is a lightweight, standalone, and executable package that includes everything needed to run an application, including the code, runtime, libraries, and system tools. In the sense, whenever you want to basically run your application, right, you will have certain dependencies, libraries, runtimes, application code, everything, right? So that is why this Docker MS can be help use here. So, but like in our case, it is a very lightweight and that is standalone first thing. Okay, and it is executable package, which has your everything that, let's say, your application codes, runtime, libraries, and dependencies, and then you will have a system tools, etc. Okay, so without having this one, you will not be able to run your applications as simple. So you can have a definitions if you want. You can just go through with the definition, and we will try to understand some of the characteristics of Docker image. It is immutable. Immutable, once created, an image remains unchanged. Immutable in the sense, example. So what we will do, we will try to, I'll first try to create the image, right? Let me just click here. First, I'll just show you Docker images. Like we have see the version is, we have the version. If I run this command Docker images, this will show you the how many images are available. So right now I have only one. So let me now I will run. Sorry, my bad. Let me copy from my here notepad. Okay. So what basically this command is going to do is that this command going to run a Docker with this particular name. This is basically container name. In our case, I can change the container name as let's say uh, DevOps Pulse. I can mention 1000. Okay, This is your container name. We have basically we run a Docker container specifying the name of the container as Docker Pulse 1000, and then D. D is nothing but dash D is nothing but it is a DTOS mode. It will be running the backend basically, okay? DTOS mode. And P is nothing but basically you're exporting, you're exposing the port. That is your this is your local port with your containers port for specific application. That is the Nginx, okay? Containers. So what we'll do now, it will run. Okay. So it is running already. Maybe I let me see first what I have. Docker PS. Okay. Okay. Right now, right now you see here, right? So created 12 second ago. So what you see here, if you see the what ex we have exposed this particular port, local port with your container port, that is 80. The name what we have given, if you see here, we have given this name, right? So this is the name we can see. Now, um, so let's say now this is one done. Now if you want to do any kind of changes, this is what I'm saying. It is once created, the image is unchanged. You can't do any changes here now because one is created this thing. Okay. If you want to change anything, it will be a if you want to change, let's see, let's understand second points. Version. Images can have different version of tracking changes. Let's say after modification something within your basically the container image, right? You can still create, let's say with some other name. Okay, you can have it so it will be a different version, but same version cannot be changed. Okay, the version will be changed. Let's say the version 1 have different kind of configuration or version 2 will have different configuration. So same version, let's say you have version 1 already, same version 1 if you want to do modification, that is not possible. Okay, that is what it was trying to say. And also stores, where it stores images are stored in a registry for registry for sharing and distributions. So normally this image, if you see now, like I mentioned here, image basically located in your local system, right? Uh, so this one can be stored somewhere. This is somewhere in your local system, right? You can store it somewhere in your centralized repository such as GitHub, sorry, not GitHub, such as Docker Hub or Azure Container Registry or any kind of registry. You can keep wherever you need it. Okay, so that it will help us to collaborate and work together and use the same image wherever they want to use it. So then we have a build instructions. So how the image, if you see the image was created, but how the image was created, we have no clue, right? So the image what was created now, we don't know how it is being created. So the image basically build instruction, right? The created from a Docker file that specifies the build instructions in the sense if you have applications that is your Nginx or whatever applications, if you want to build the applications, sorry, Docker image out of the existing applications, you will have to write your Docker file basically. Okay, Docker file will have their instructions such as, let me show you, Docker file sample. I can just give you a sample. Okay, if you see a sample, if you see here, right? So always whenever you say this is outline, okay, this is the base image. Basically, from is always whenever you're writing any Docker file, the first comes in picture is your from instruction. From instruction is always must, and it should be always in the first place. You can't keep in the second. Okay, whenever you're writing any Docker file, if you just notice the from instruction is always will be in the first place, and it is must. Okay, before from, you will not be able to write any Docker file because from is something that is your base image. You have to specify your base image, And apart from the base image, like you can see here directory, then we have a copy, then run, cmd, expose. These all are known as instruction, including your from. These all are known as instructions. So whenever you're writing any of the Docker file, you will have a set of instruction which you define based on the applications. Okay, and based on the application and based on the programming, the technologies it use. Okay, so fine. We will not be able to. I will not be able to. I will not cover right now these in details because we have separate session for this one. For now, just understand why Docker file is used. Okay, and why it is important. Fine. Now let's go back to the here. Okay. So the image what you see here basically the image was there, no, this command which we run b command, this was already containerized. That is why this image, if you see here, we can check it if you want. You can just copy the name. I have copied already. This was already containerized application. That is why it is pulling from my Docker Hub repository. It is publicly available. If you just click here, this is basically if you see here. Okay, Nginx. So this is already containerized. That is why you don't have to uh, write a Docker file because this is already containerized based applications. Okay, so if you want to know more about this one, you can have a looks, and definitely you will have a different tags as well. Based on the tags, you can see the latest one is your tag, or if you have different, you can go through with this one. Let's say if you go with a particular tag, what changes been made, you can uh, understand more about this one. Okay, yeah, do so many things. You can understand this one. But for now, we don't have to understand for now anything much because uh, we have separate session for that one. So in today's session, you just understand basically this particular Engine X application is containerized based on your applications which is written in your Docker files. Okay, so this is already containerized and available publicly. So that is why we could get everything here, what we here, right? All right. So for now, we will just understand this thing. What you call the build instruction. Now we are clear, right? So whenever you're writing, basically you want to make application as a containerized based applications, you will first need to create your Docker file based on your applications and the technology it uses. Yeah. So you have to specify the instructions. What it contains in the instruction, sorry, in the Docker file, it has your instructions of your applications, how the application to be built. So all the instruction you will be defining in your Docker file. Okay. And purpose, right, serves as a template for creating containers and snapshot of an application's environment at a specific point in time, and portable and consistent across different environments. We have all understood. So it is always definitely it is a portable and consistent across different environments. So wherever you want, you can deploy it. So you can run using example these commands. Let's say if you have a Docker file in place and the Docker file need to be in the same the current the root, basically the working directory, right? It should be in the same working directory or root directory. You can, in the root directory, you will have your Docker file. Okay. One you specify the Docker file. Let's say you have to build from scratch. What you do based on the application, you will write a Docker file. In the Docker file, you will have an instruction defined, and then while let's say I'm just showing you so that GitHub. All right. So as you can see, like I mentioned, this is, let's say, this is one of the thing. Uh, like that, you will have a Docker file. In my case, this is one of the cases where this is for the ASP.NET code base. So I have specified the Docker file here. So normally in you go if you go any of the project, you will not have only this much. You will have a big I mean the instructions defined. Okay. So this is a very simplest one. So we will learn anyway that as well. Okay. So for now, like I mentioned, you have to define here. Okay, in your within your directory, you define your Docker file. Okay, once you have in place everything, you run this command. That is your Docker build T. Okay, then we have a Docker. This is basically the name of the image, and then you will define the what you call that tag version basically. What is the name of that version basically? Let's say if you want to put version 1 or 2 or anything, you can put. And in between, you will have a space 1.0 space dot. Okay, you have to put dot. When you put dot anything, they will check your Docker file, and based on your application code, they will check and they will build a Docker image for you. Okay, fine. Now we will understand about the Docker container. Docker container uh, Docker container is a running instance of a Docker image encapsulating the applications and its dependencies in an isolated environment. So we have already understood about Docker container, right? So before having the Docker container, basically you will not be able to run your applications. So yeah, so characteristics runnable containers can be started. Okay, the containers can be started and can be stopped and it can be restarted. So it is isolated as well. Each container is isolated from the host system and the other container. Okay, and dynamic containers can scale up or scale down based on demand. Let's say in your you have an application that is a containerized application. Let's in our case it is let's give an example. It is some ASP.NET code you have it or whatever server you have Nginx application. Let's say in simple example. So based on the request, what happens? You increase the traffic get increased, and then your system, in the sense, your performance gets slowed down, right? So in this case, how we can avoid basically to have a better performance to be able to receive all the requests, right? All traffic. So what we can do is we can have a container can be scaled up or scaled down based on a demand. So because the application what you have here, that is your Docker image, the container-based applications, the Docker image, right? It will be it will be the application basically. Okay, your application will be running in Docker in container itself, right? So container will handle everything. So when you get a more request for specific applications, and which is maybe the traffic will get in more and more, what happens? Your application may be slow down, right? So in this case, your container can take care of this one. Okay, they can scale based on the request based on traffic. They can scale up or scale down. Okay, based on demand. And we also have a stateful and stateless. Containers can be stateful or stateless as well. And purpose executes a specific applications or services, provides consistent runtime environment, isolated applications, and prevent conflicts. Okay, like I mentioned, it is isolated applications and prevent conflicts. Let's say you have one particular nodes in that. If, let's say if you have a multiple application also you can run because they are isolated. Okay, within the containers. So let's say if you do in container one, whatever changes you do, that will be affected only the application for specific the containers. And if you have another container which is running some other applications, so based on whatever changes you do in the container level, whatever is there, it will be only affected for specific this thing applications. Okay, so that is one of the biggest advantage we have. So you don't have, let's say if you have a multiple container also within the node, you don't have to worry that one because they are all isolated. Fine. And creating and running container, we can do this command docker run and details mode and the name of the you have defined a container name. Mention the container name, what name you want. Okay, so all right, and we will try to understand some of the things like container identification, right? So when you create a container, Docker container, it is assigned a universally unique identifier. Okay. So whenever basically we run the Docker, I mean the container, right? It has some, they will assign some, universally unique identifier number. So example, if you run this one, okay, so you get something like this number. Okay. So it is very hard for us to understand, right? So to help humans, Docker also allows us to apply a container name. So instead of this one, right, if you just let me see if I can show you, maybe if I have it, Docker PS, this is a container name. Um, what is the port I had even? Let me check. Okay. Okay, you can see here this number and all. This is very difficult for us to remember. So what we can do is that is what in my case I have defined the name. If you see here, if I see here, this is the name I have given web. Okay, so we can change the name basically based on this thing. Okay, or we can say PS. Okay, this is the one actually which we run. I changed that name that time. Okay, this is the name we given, right? If you remember, this is the actual container name. This is something which we can easily identify it or remember because by seeing the number basic container ID, no, is difficult, right? The unique ID. Will be unique for each and every container. So it is not easy for us to remember everything, right? So that is why we can name it your container basically. So same thing, if you see here, you can get to see here. So we can name it that one. So like I mentioned, I shown this one. It should be unique. If you run with this command, that is a docker ps, this will show you only the running containers. Okay. By adding dash double dash name and then whatever name you want arguments during the docker run commands, we can specify our own name to the container. So whatever name you want during your thing, you can mention. Let's say in our case we have mentioned here, right? This is the name you want. So if you want to give some other name during your docker run, you can give this name. So based on that, it will be created. That will be a docker container name basically, or container name. All right. So let's wrap up the sessions for today. I look forward to seeing you in the next sessions. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Have a nice day.